coming down.
We're up.
In your mouth with the freestyle. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Dead End Sports. I am the host with the most. I'm your boy 12 Kyle. Thanks for tuning into the place where sports opinions collide. If you're watching us live, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching us at some other time, thank you for tuning in as well. As mentioned, place where sports opinions collide. We have a lot to talk about. A lot has happened in the sports world since we last left. To be honest, 2 hours is not enough, but we're going to fit it in. Our boy Beezy 430 will not be on tonight's show. He had to leave the country to tour with Drake. He'll be back tomorrow. Nonetheless, we got the usual cast of characters, my man FEEFO, my man Ken, and a newcomer, our homeboy Dakota Schmidt. Dakota, what's up, man?
I am doing good. I'm happy that I'm here to talk sports with you guys because it is raining the cats and dogs outside right now, so it's nice to be inside and talk hoops with you guys.
No doubt, no doubt. For those of you tuning in, Dakota is a basketball writer / video editor, analyst. Some of his work has been featured on SB Nation, ESPN, Yahoo, B-Ball Breakdown, SI's Fan-Sided Network. And he's currently the interim director for SB Nation's Ridiculous Upside, where he's covering the NBA draft as well as the D-League and some high school hoops. So, of course, you know we're not – if we have somebody on here, you know we're not going to have somebody who don't know what they're talking about. So my man Dakota Schmidt, filling in for BZ 430, definitely knows his sports. So welcome him to the cast. Of course, I got my man FEEFO. FEEFO, what's going on, Playboy?
Yo, what it do?
Chilling, man. What's going on?
Man, trying to grind, bro. Every day, all day. Everything, man.
No doubt. Get
Grind.
that paper.
I'm trying.
And, of course, my man Ken. Ken, what's popping?
Oh man, what isn't popping, man? Kind of to go back to Dakota, man. You know, and look, man, if we find out halfway through the show, man, he don't know what he's talking about, we'll just kick him off the show. You know. But nah, for real.
I respect the honesty.
You know what? They always used to tell me, man. I used to threaten the guests. We used to have a guy, George, would come on and I would say stuff like that all the time, and they were like, "Man, you be scaring the guests when they come on the show, man. You can't be saying, stuff like that." But nah, man, that's what I do, man. It's all fun and games. But Dakota, Kyle, and I know you mentioned this when we were kind of tossing names back and forth about who to bring on the show to fill in for B tonight. And Dakota has tried to come on the show before. He's been very, very persistent a while back on trying to come onto the show. At the moment, we were unable to do it, but he's somebody that just over time, man, through Twitter, I just started kind of noticing and just started following his work. He's been working with Off the Bench for the last few weeks.
Shout out to Off the Bench.
Yeah. Shout out to Off the Bench, Ryan and Q, who we normally have on. But and I be paying attention, man. I be watching. You guys don't think I be watching, but I be watching. I be paying attention. So, hey, if you know what you're doing, you look like you got some promise. Hey, you know what? Any given moment, man, that you could be next. It could be your call. But you got to know what you're talking about. We just have to bring anybody on the show. But yeah, man, I think this is something that
even if sometimes I troll a little bit on Twitter.
It's all good. I'm pretty good at that as well. But real quick, before we get into tonight's show, just want to plug 8096.com. We tweeted out a few articles on the Dead End Sports account. Check them out. It's a new platform that's on the way, created by Wes Pendleton, who's a fantastic producer as well. So make sure you just check him out on the producer side. Also, he's actually submitted some beats for us and that we used on the show as well. But it's a new venture he's putting together. It's covering basketball and music. And I don't know if it's music and hip-hop or basketball, hip-hop, shoes, culture, the whole nine. So far they put out some pretty good articles. They're just getting started, but some of the stuff that I've seen was pretty good. So check them out. The last thing, we've been doing the show for a while, and we have a good number of you that watch us, on a week-to-week basis or, whenever you can, but you're pretty persistent. We may have some newcomers, but what I am looking for, if you can, if you'll be ever so kind, is to kind of send us some feedback. I want to know some of the reasons why you watch and like this show. I mean, we're guys that come together that do this as a passion for fun because we love talking sports. We would do this without the camera, but the show has definitely grown and it's grown over the years. It's taken on a life of its own, and with the Undefeated site coming out and some other platforms that are out, I want to try to enhance and make the show as big as possible. And I want to try to get on some bigger platforms because I think I need to hear from you guys that people are gonna like it. I think if you guys didn't like what we were doing, you wouldn't show up every week or whenever you do. So yeah, just send us. You can tweet it to us. You can email it to deadendsports@gmail.com. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It can be a one line or whatever. But just let us know, like, what is it that you like about the show, and that's that, man. And we'll really appreciate it. And if there's anything else we can do to improve, and that's it. So I'm not gonna hold you up any longer. That's all I got.
No doubt, no doubt. So make sure you give us feedback. All feedback is welcome. If you don't like us, that's cool. Give us feedback. If you like us, definitely give us feedback, and we'll definitely take it to heart. As I mentioned at the top, our boy Beasley 430 will not be with us tonight. I misspoke earlier. He's not on tour with just Drake. It's Drake and Riff Raff. So when you see him tomorrow on Twitter, ask him how the show was with Riff Raff. So anyway, a lot has happened since the last time okay, so let me get it straight. If I'm not mistaken, the last time we linked up last Tuesday, it was Game 4. Subsequently, we had Game 5 on Thursday, Game 6 on Saturday, and then, of course, the culmination, Memorial Day, Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. Now, the Eastern Conference Finals is over. Salute, and we're going to talk about them too as well. Salute to the Cavs. LeBron James' 6th appearance in the NBA Finals. Incredible. I guess let's start here. Ken, I'm going to start with you first. As we all know, Golden State wins last night, Game 7. But you have to go back when you think about it because the Oklahoma City Thunder were up 3-1. 3-1. You got Game 6 in your building, and the wheels literally came apart. Ken, did the Warriors defeat OKC, or did OKC choke this away?
That is a very difficult question, Kyle, and the reason why I say that is because of the 13-point leads the Thunder had in both games. But anytime a team comes back like that, I think it's a mixture of both. Because I don't want to take away from what the Warriors were able to accomplish. I, for one, when the Thunder were up 3-1, said the series was not over. Like many people.
And you know what, Ken? To your credit, you were the only one that said that.
Yeah, I hit Cheryl, and I was like, it's not over until it's over. Anytime you have a game to play, you have a chance. And that's all you need. And part of that is because, look, we saw what happened last year with the Rockets and the Clippers. If they can do it, come on, man. Why can't the Thunder? Really? They won 73 games. They can win 3 in a row easy. It's going to be hard, but they can. They won 25 or 24 straight. So it's not impossible for this team. And then I go all the way back to the Rockets and when they were down 3-1 in their series and they came back and won. At the time, I understood perfectly how the Warrior fans felt because as a diehard Olajuwon fan at that time, it was crushing to be down 3-1 and to see all the stats and to not know if really you wouldn't even be able to do it. And we all know the catchphrase that everybody's quoting: "Never underestimate the heart of a
Mm-hmm.
champion." And
No doubt.
ever since then, like that, it rings so true. And what we saw with the Warriors is we saw that on display. And we say it all the time: the champs will not give it to you. You have to take it. In the first 4 games, the Thunder were taking it. They had their foot on the pedal, and they had their foot on Oklahoma City's neck. And seemingly after Game 5, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's doubt, I don't know what it was, but they seemed to lose confidence and that swagger that they had. Golden State deserves a lot of credit for that because they were, I mean, look, we witnessed a hell of a series. This is a series that I wanted to see. That series was exactly why I wanted to see that series because we were granted to a free show every
Right.
night we played. But but look, man, when you're up 3-1, you gave part of that, and you were up 13 points at home, and you lose that game, and then you were up 13 points in total control of Game 7, and you blow it again. All you had to do was work the game. It's something Dwayne Wade and LeBron said when they were playing together after one of their wins. You just work the game, and hey, the chips will fall where they may.
Mm-hmm.
And Russell Westbrook, I tweeted this out. I will not let it go. When he came down, and we were texting about it back and forth.
Right.
When he came down
Right.
and jacked that 3 up, it changed the game. You had a chance to go up 15 or 16, and instead you throw up a shot, searching for a foul. It's Game 7. They're not going to give you that call. The ref stayed out of it. And you missed. Clay hit a 3, and it was over. He hit another 3 because he's trying to get something back again. He penned it again. Hit another 3. It was a wrap. And after that, they were on, man. That's all they needed. And at that point, you got to credit the Warriors. The Warriors for coming back, and they came out in the third quarter. And when you go into halftime and you down 6 and you've been dominated like that, and you look up and you down 6 and you know you haven't played your game, look, you're going to take it. And that's exactly what they did in the second half. They took the rest of that game from them, and they took the Oklahoma City Thunder's soul. And I know, well, I won't even get into everything else because I know there's other questions to come, but I think it's a mixture of both, only because the Thunder had 13-point leads in both games, but Klay Thompson was absolutely fantastic in the fourth quarter of Game 6. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have a Game 7. So all credit goes to him for saving the Warriors' asses. But they had that game at home, and they blew it. And after that, it was just a foregone conclusion of what was going to happen after that. So, but you got to give the champs credit, man. They kept fighting. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you have, FEEFO? I don't know if you went for the question, but the question is, did OKC choke it away, or did the Warriors win?
And I'll get to that point, but I want to start where Ken left off, right? Because he predicted OKC 6.
Mm-hmm.
I predicted Golden State in 7. Before my prediction, what did I say? OKC goes as far as Russell Westbrook's poise. KD is the guy, but Russell Westbrook is the point guard. Therefore, the ball's going to be in his hand, and he has to make decisions down the stretch to win and decide ball games. Now, with all that being said, it's a little bit of both, and Ken's 100% right. You cannot not give credit to Golden State because they took that. But at the same time, it's not like OKC just 100% completely imploded like they did during the regular season. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they had what was it, Game 5, where they have in the last 3.5, 4.5 minutes, they have 5 turnovers. They had more turnovers than they had assists, which was 0. You know what I'm saying? In a game like that, okay, fine. But those other ones, man, look, Golden State, to me, what I took away from this is they prove why they won or why they only lost 9 games. They prove that anything is not insurmountable. They could be down 30 with 8 minutes to go, and they can win that game. They have an opportunity to win. And when you are back against the wall, 3-1 against the team that just beat San Antonio the previous series, every Ken thought he was a prophet. Ken really did. He thought he was a prophet. And what happened is it's the fact that you have the 2 greatest shooters, to especially teammates, to play, and them boys is jacking from anywhere. And in these text message conversations, I kind of sometimes I stay out of it. Sometimes I can't text at the time. But Ken said these are bad shots. They're not bad shots for them, Ken. That is the point. That's what makes them special. That's why they can jack from 40 feet. It's not a bad shot for them. It is exclusive. Certain plays that LeBron makes in terms of passes, every other player cannot make it, but he can. Therefore, it's not bad for them. Now, OKC, man, I'm going to tell you like this. They are in a situation where they're still growing because of Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is still growing as a point guard. And honestly, until he, in terms of IQ as a point guard, becomes top 3, that's what's going to hold them back. It's not the talent. It's not the play. It's not him and KD coexisting. It's not even the coach. It is Russell Westbrook's point guard IQ, and we're seeing it grow. He's still evolving. He still has a lot of room to get better. But all that being said, to me, this is more so Golden State taking it. You can no longer say, "Hey Clay, where you at?" Go ahead, Ken. I want to hear you say that. Because he showed the hell up. Exactly. He showed the hell up. And if it was not for him, they wouldn't have won. And Steph closed out. What was that, Game 6? He closed that out. Clay kept them in the whole game. And then Steph closed them out. You saw the ability of the 2 best players on a team take the bull by the horns and say, we not losing. We lost 9 games all year. There's no way we're going out like this. And Steph said that, I believe, after Game 5. There's no way we're going out like Game 6, one of them games. This is not how we're going out. And they held true to that. They did everything that got them to this point. And OKC did the opposite. They reverted back to the 17 games where they were up by double digits before half or at the third quarter, and they lost. Bad habits come back. We see it all the time. You can hide your true identity for a moment, but it's gonna come back because when it gets tough, you're only gonna go back to what you know. And Billy Donovan, hopefully he gets back his squad next year. I always say year 2 is the year that the coach can impose a system. We saw better adjustments in games than Scott Brooks did, and that's what I'm going to give credit to Billy Donovan. I don't know if it's all Billy Donovan or if it's Billy Donovan and his coaching staff, but we saw a slight improvement. Now, next year is where they have to take that leap. It's where Russell Westbrook has to get better in terms of his IQ. You know what I'm saying? But to me, Golden State took this. Their 2 best players said, we are not losing, and you saw it. You saw it. To me, Golden State took it, man.
There it is. There it is. My man Dakota. What's your take, man? Did OKC choke this away, or did the Warriors just take it?
I think it's 50-50 with both for Golden State, especially in Game 6 down the line. Like you guys mentioned, Klay Thompson was absolutely killing it in the third and fourth quarter, and of course Steph closing it out. But in regards to OKC, I believe in the final 13 possessions they passed the ball once or less. in the final 13 possessions
Oh, wow.
of Game 4, and a lot of that goes on the back of Russell Westbrook. Russ, one of the most athletic players, not only in the NBA but in sports. Like FEEFO said, he needs to get better at decision making. As the point guard, he's one of the elite players in the game. But in Game 6 and Game 7, you saw the flaws that Russell has, and I think a lot of credit for OKC's defensive struggles, offensive struggles, late in both Game 6 and Game 7 go to Andre Iguodala.
Right.
In both games, he was just fantastic on, defense, especially, against both Russ and KD. Kurt put Iguodala on, both players, and, Iggy absolutely killed it on that end. So in regards to the question, I think it's, OKC's offense not totally being in sync late in the game, and also with Golden State play and, Steph just absolutely being fantastic, unbelievable offensive weapons.
Yeah, I think everybody made a great point. There's not really much I can add that's different. I think it's a little bit of both. I'll be the first to admit, like, I'm one of those people I'm very hesitant about using the word choke, because I think it takes a lot to choke. Anybody that follows me on Twitter, I will call somebody lemon booty. Lemon booty means you squeeze up when it gets tight, when the pressure gets tight. So that's almost like the same as choking, just a funnier way of saying it's choke. So OKC went lemon booty. There's no other way to call it. FEEFO makes a great point. They reverted back to, I don't even want to, because they took some bad, in Game 6 they took some bad shots. At one point in time, particularly down the stretch in Game 6, they had one made field goal in the last 4 minutes. Russell Westbrook had 4 turnovers. Kevin Durant, he was almost non-existent. How much of that was Iguodala? Probably a lot, because you saw Golden State lock in Game 6. That being said, like Ken said, when you have the champs down, and you got to understand too that we saw a different era of basketball. So when I think of the 80s Lakers teams or the 80s Celtics, or the 90s Bulls, or the Rockets of the 90s, when those teams had teams down, you finished them. And really, and we talked about it via text, for the champs, you got to kill the champs. And I felt like Oklahoma City really had a chance to put this series out of reach in Game 2. If they win Game 2 and go back to OKC up 2-0, you figure that you're at least going to get 1 at home. So now you've got 3. Now you're coming back 3-1. And I just think, like, Oklahoma City never went for the kill shot. They never went to the point where they felt like, look, we got to put them away right now. We got to finish them. And they gave them life. And, we've talked about Klay Thompson both collectively and individually. Klay Thompson, Game 6 was lights out. I don't know, and we'll talk about it a little later, I don't know defensively what they could have done with him in Game 6, because there were some shots that he just let it fly. There was one shot where he got it on the corner, and it's got to be probably about 25 feet. And I kid you not, Klay Thompson does not look at the basket. He comes off a screen, and he does not look at the basket until the ball's out of his hand. And, it didn't touch the rim. So when you got it going like that, and I'm looking at the stat sheet here, Klay Thompson was 14 of 31, 11 for 18 for three-point range. He was not going to let them. Curry was okay. He was 9 for 22, 6 for 14 from three-point range. But they rode the back of Klay. So you got 41 from Klay, 31 from Steph, and then Draymond Green, who I still think is the glue to that team, and it doesn't really get talked about a lot, but he had 12 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and a block. That was huge. And that was the difference, I think, in Game 6, because Draymond, his energy, his athleticism did not let them kind of fade away. Conversely, on the other side, again, Durant went for 29, Westbrook went for 20, and I'm talking about Game 6. Went for 26. You got 13 from Ibaka, and Roberson went for 11. But it's just that final stretch, that final 5 minutes, and we've watched Golden State a lot this year. That last 5 minutes, they've put their will on a lot of different teams, and I think it came to fruition. Now let's fast forward into last night's game. When you look at last night's game in its totality, FEEFO, if you had to say, okay, you've got a Game 7, and we were texting throughout the game, do you think OKC felt the pressure at all during last night's game? Because I think both teams looked a little tentative at first, but do you think that the pressure really weighed on them as the game progressed?
What you saw at first is just butterflies, the overexcitement of it being the finality of this series. Somebody's going home. Both teams know that. Right. They know that. Obviously, when you have a 3-1 lead and then now it's Game 7, you're gonna be tight. You're gonna have that lemon booty big time. It is what it is. If you have 3-1 lead and it gets to Game 7, I don't care who you are, you're gonna feel that. You know what I'm saying? Now, is there pressure on both teams? Of course, because of the finality of a Game 7. But obviously, OKC feels it a lot more because they feel it slipping away. Every time they feel it slipping away. And the crazy thing about it is pretty much in every game, right, it seemed like OKC was up 20 or 30 points every game this series. In every single game this series, there's one point in time that the score might, they might only be up 8, but it feels like 20. So what does that mean? That means that OKC has a level of physicality, a level of talent, a level of just prepared of everything. They were ready for Golden State. But it's those intangible things, those little things, a system versus not having a system, a team that understands. Like I think in Game 7, before like 2 minutes into the second quarter or something like that, Steve Kerr used 10 players. Billy Donovan used 7. What does that say? They're deeper. He likes to play with more tools. There's certain things that they can do. You know what I'm saying? OKC felt all of that throughout the series. They felt that because when you're only up 8 and you're like, yo, we're giving them everything, and they're only up 8. They felt that. They felt that. It's a culmination. They were tight, man. That pressure was primarily on OKC. Now, I'm not saying Golden State didn't feel nothing because you're at home, and if you lose, your whole season's a wash. That pressure is on you. But that's good pressure because you earn that. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference. They kind of earn that. We earned the right to be at home. We earned everything that we're going through right now. We earned this Game 7. We earned this Game 7. For OKC is slipping away. That's a different type of pressure. That's the type of pressure you don't want to be under. To me, they were under way more pressure than Golden State was.
No doubt, no doubt. What about you, Dakota? The pressure, man. At what point do you think OKC really felt that pressure?
I think, as people said, things were a little. I think both, OKC and Golden State had butterflies in the first half, but once the second half hit and third quarter hit, Steph Curry was starting, come on, hitting jumpers that we, all know and love from him. And, once that happened, once, Golden State started to get a little edge and, Russell Westbrook wasn't able, to hit his shots. He was 7 for 21 from the field in Game 7, which isn't, good at all. And once, that happened, it pretty much, the game was pretty much wrapped up.
No doubt, no doubt. What about you, Ken? The pressure, man, we talk about it all the time. Pressure busts pipes that can make diamonds, one of the two. If and when do you think OKC felt the pressure? Was it during Game 7 or just going into Game 7 knowing that they, basically blew it in Game 6?
They felt the pressure as soon as Russell Westbrook jacked up that 3. As soon as he broke the game plan, the pressure was on from there. When he jacked up that three and Clay hit his three, they felt the pressure.
That was
When
a
they came
game
back,
changer.
shot,
That was a game changer
it
too.
was. Anybody watching that game could easily see that. Um, when they came back and missed again, and Clay hit another three, that's back to back. They felt the pressure even more. Then guess what? Clay Thompson hit another three. That's three in a row.
Right.
It was a wrap.
And Clay
It,
started off slow too. He was like 0 for
yep.
6 for his first couple of shots.
And at that point, Golden State was feeling the pressure. They're going to keep fighting. They're going to keep shooting because that's what they do. You're not going to go out like a punk. Like you said, we're not
Right.
going out like that. So we're going to let them fly. And let them fly they did. But at that moment, they were feeling the pressure. Audience was, the roar was looking like, what is happening? But at some point, they knew OKC was going to break and they were going to go back to what they normally, do, and they did. And it was a wrap from there. They went up 8. Curry came right back, tossed the ball up to the Raptors, and it went in. 6-point game. And that momentum, that downhill momentum started to really get them. And then the third quarter came, and where the Thunder lost this game more than anything is when Golden State came out slow and they missed 5 or 6 shots in a row. Ibaka missed one. Ibaka
Mm-hmm.
missed 2 threes. Roberson missed one. Adams missed one. They had a chance to push this thing back to double digits and kind of gain some more stability, some more control over the game, and put more pressure back on them, and kind of maybe settle down.
Roberson couldn't buy a shot.
But man, them boys, and this is where I sent you guys that text and said these were bad shots because every shot was contested. Every single shot. It's not like Adams didn't put his hand up. It's not like KD didn't put his hand up. It's not like when they were jacking these shots up, they didn't put their hand up. They were right there on every single shot. They just let they let it fly. And the reason why I say they were bad shots is because they were taking these shots before and they were not going in. And when they were not going in, there was people criticizing them for the shots that they were taking at the time they were taking, they were not falling. It felt like that in that game, except this time they were going in, which is what we're accustomed to seeing from Golden State.
Right.
When they're not going in, they're bad shots. When they're going in, this is what they do. And I understand all of that. But when I'm looking at this side, they are literally just throwing the ball up with no result. It was incredible. And I'm sitting there, I'm just shaking my head. And I'm like, all you have to do is just keep composed. But they did not. And it was a wrap from there. They just fell apart, man. And I guess we'll get into KD. But
We're gonna get into KD.
We need to.
That was your moment.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ken.
I'll leave it at that because I know we got some more to talk about with them.
I'll say this, man. I think they really felt the pressure. First and foremost, you got to remember in Game 6, OKC, who shot the ball particularly well from 3 in Games 3 and 4, they're Game 6 in their building, and they go 3 for 23. And, of course, and FEEFO talked about it, and we talked about it at length in some previous shows, that it's hard to keep up with OKC. It's hard to keep up with Golden State if you try to go 3 for 3 because they're going to more nights than often they're going to make. So you go 3 for 23 on your floor, and Clay himself goes 11 for 18 and lights you up for 41 points. And Steph goes 6 for 11. So that's a deadly combination in and of itself. But shout out to my man Legendary in our chat room here on YouTube. He pointed out a good point, and Reggie Miller pointed it out last night too as well. There was a point in the third quarter where OKC was only up by 5, but they seemed to be arguing and bickering on the court. There was a shot of Kevin Durant sitting on the bench. He was cussing or yelling at somebody. We don't know what was being said. but you could kind of see like the wheels starting to come off, like they were losing their composure. And Legendary made a good point about that. I think, when you look at stuff like that, I think what they're going to take away from this series is that OKC is going to ultimately kick themselves. They're going to say, well, you know what, we could have done this, or we should have done that. And, it's going to be tough because when you look back on it, those are just blown opportunities. And a lot of teams this year, even throughout those 73 wins, they could say, well, we had Golden State. We had them right there, but we could have done this, or we should have done that. For the most part, Golden State has blown out a lot of teams, but, at this stage, you're probably not blowing out your opponent. It comes down to execution and, what it is, like FEEFO said, as far as your game plan, and sticking to what it is that you do best. And so it was tough. And this one is going to haunt OKC for a while, but you got to give the champs credit. I mean, for as much as, OKC went lemon booty and pissed it away, you got to give the champs credit for getting off the canvas when, probably not a lot of people outside of their locker room and their fan base thought that they could bring it back.
Kyle, hold on. Before you move on.
Go ahead.
You know what I would do to me if I was Oklahoma City's coach? Beginning of training camp for next season, before we get onto the court, before I make a speech, whatever team I have there, we're going to go watch film. And we're going to watch the 7 games of that Golden State championship. And we're not going to watch the whole game. We're going to watch the fourth quarters. We're going to watch the last 5 minutes of all 7 games. And we're going to, and I'm going to point out every single discrepancy, every single bad play. And this is the difference between winning a championship and contending for a championship. Right. And because it's not like OKC needs a major overhaul. What they need is an offensive system for Russ and KD to dominate and for the others to know where they're going to be and for them to get quality shots down the stretch. That's what they need. That's the system that they need because their deficiency is hero ball. Yeah. I'm great. You can't stop me. I'm going to win the game. And we saw that beginning of Game 6 with KD because he shot 19 shots in that first half. And you have to be able to show them these things. And then all training camp, all season, all summer, this is what we're working on going into the season. And that's it. I'm not talking about nothing else. We're going to talk about closing out these games. That's all it is. Minor adjustments. Billy Donovan just needs to step his game up to the next level. He had 1 year. Welcome to the NBA. That's over now. That's over. Earn your paycheck. He already earned it, but you got to earn the next one too. And from here on out, because that's what they brought him in here for. It was for the difference.
I don't think he earned it.
Hey, Ken, look. Hey, why do you say that?
We always do, especially this time of year. I got 2 questions. FEEFO, I'm going to start right there with you. So here we go. 2 questions.
All right.
1, if you had to blame somebody, who do you blame? And it could be more than one person for this collapse in OKC. And then number 2, and we're going to talk about this more, especially as the weeks, because I think we've probably got another month before free agency actually starts. Ultimately, what do you think KD's going to do? So 1, if you had to blame someone, who do you blame for OKC's lemon booty? And 2, what do you think is going to happen with KD?
I think the primary blame, obviously, there's a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? It's a team sport. You can't just blame just one person or one play, one scenario, one game. But I think the person that takes the brunt of it has to be KD, especially when you saw how he played in those last 2 games. That's not becoming of a former MVP. That's not how you're supposed to close out an opponent. An opponent that is the previous champs. That's just not how you do it, and we have to hold him at a higher standard because all of the elite players we hold at that gold standard. And it just seems like KD goes through these playoffs unscathed. So for me, I have to put a lot of blame on KD. When you are the best player on your team, You get a lot of the credit for the wins. You got to take the credit for the losses. In terms of KD coming back or what he does in terms of free agency, honestly, I think he's gone. But that's me. I don't know where he goes, so I don't have insider information or anything like that. But when I look
Right.
at a couple of teams that can take a KD and KD take them to a championship level and definitely go into the finals, I think that it will be better served that if he moves to the East. In all honesty, because that West, and I'm not saying you should just leave because it's too competitive. No, but it's extremely competitive, and at this point in time in your career, he has to look at winning championships and multiple championships. And all I'm saying is, I think there are
Right.
a couple of East teams more poised to take him on and get him over that hump than him staying in OKC or another mediocre team in the West. Because if he's not going to Golden State in the West, what other team is there really outside of him staying in OKC? I don't see another West team where it just makes sense for him to go. In the East, because I've mentioned the East, I listen to Stephen A. because he has a lot more insight than I do.
Right.
He's the only person to really call LeBron going to Miami, and there's a real chance that KD can go to Miami. I think from a personnel standpoint, if it's perfect, obviously they have some other free agents of their own that they need to take care of. So I don't know what their team is going to look like, but based off of what I seen you add KD to that mix, that's kind of that's kind of crazy right there. And you have the Pat Riley factor. They won already 3 championships. They know how to do it. You're gonna make a little bit more money because of no state tax. And Pat Riley's that guy. He can close deals. So to me, I would like to see him go to Miami, because I think that'll be the best overall fit for KD. But I honestly, for me, I don't think he comes back. But that's gonna be a tough conversation to have with Russell Westbrook. You know what I'm saying? Out of
Right.
anybody, forget Ibaka, forget Billy Donovan, but Russ, because what type of work he puts in off season, during practice, during game. He had your back the same way KD has had his. So that conversation is the most awkward one I think that he could have, and probably the only thing that will hold him back from moving on, I think, will be Russell Westbrook. But I think it's time for KD to bounce because I don't know what else OKC can add to get them over the hump. They have everything. They truly do.
No doubt. No doubt. They've got a lot. Our boy Dakota Schmidt, as you if for the Schmidt is filling in for our boy Beezy 430, who is on tour tonight with Riff Raff. Dakota's a basketball writer. His stuff has been featured on SB Nation, ESPN, SI's Fansided Network. Dakota, you know a lot of insiders. You know a lot of inside stuff. Before we go to the insider question, if you had to put the blame on somebody or somebody's, who do you blame for OKC's demise? And then secondly, with KD, and like I said, we've got another month before free agency starts, but right now, with your gut feeling, where do you think KD goes?
First question. I think it's like a total combined blame on Russ, KD, and a little on Donovan for Russ. Like we mentioned, when we were talking about Game 6 or 7, Russ didn't, he just didn't take care of the ball well and didn't involve the team well in the closing minutes of Game 6 and overall in the second half of Game 7. For KD, even if he put up had a good statistic sound game in Game 7, he's another player in the fourth quarter of Game 6, Game 7. He didn't produce at the level that they needed to, and of course for Donovan, a coach can't really control the minutia of what's going on the court, but he didn't make the proper, FEEFO mentioned, didn't make the proper late game adjustments that they needed in both Game 6 and Game 7. For KD's future, If he were to move, I think he would move to an Eastern Conference team, whether it be Atlanta, Boston, Miami, whoever, because of the fact that there's a better chance of getting to the NBA Finals. If you're in Eastern Conference, because really right now there's only Cleveland as a challenger. For the West, you have the Clippers, Warriors, and Clippers, Warriors, and Spurs with some other teams on the come up. But I think what people aren't talking about is the option of KD maybe staying for 1 year in
Right.
OKC on the max, because if he becomes a free agent next year with the salary cap continuing to boom, he can make a lot more money next offseason than he would make this offseason.
No doubt. No doubt. That's a great point. What about you, Ken? If you had to throw blame or shade, where's it going, and where do you think KD's going to go?
Oh man, man, man. Look, Russell Westbrook had 31 turnovers in that series, I think. Um, he's to blame. He was extremely frustrating to watch, but you live and die by Westbrook, man, and that's what he does. Um, KD bears some responsibility as well. He is the superstar. He is the killer, the closer. He is the man that should match Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. You do not let them come on your home court and outplay you. Period. I don't care. You have to match them and you have to impose your will on them the way they're doing it to you. He did not. Um, but man, look, if you guys have been watching this show, some of you guys have been watching the show the whole NBA season, and you guys already know how I feel about Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan was one win away from proving me wrong. He was one win. And in the last three losses, he proved all of my criticisms right. If you look at games 6 and 7, if you reverse the game plan of those two games, I think we would have a different result. And what I mean by that is that in game 7, they came out, they got everybody involved, and they played composed, they played sound, they did not turn the ball over, they controlled the game. If you're doing that at home and your role players are involved like that, you should really finish that game out because you're playing to the crowd at that point. On the road, it's tougher to sustain that, right? And in game 7, at that point, hey, KD, take your 40 shots. Nobody's going to blame you because it's game 7 and you're going out here and you're being the hero. You're trying to be the hero because at that point, you have to go out here and try to win that game. Now, look, I don't know if Billy Donovan told KD and Westbrook that that's the plan for game 6 and they just didn't go out and do it. But if he did and they went out and did that and you did nothing about it, then that's on you. You had a 3-1 lead on the defending champs with the game 6 in your house, up 13 at home, up 13 on the road, and you failed. Billy Donovan failed that city. Shout out to Arrow for those of you that caught that. And that's really all it is. He got all the praises when they were up 3-1, and it seems like nobody's giving him the criticism that now that they've lost. And we have to look at him. They got rid of Scott Brooks because they felt that Scott Brooks took this team as far as he could take it. And Billy Donovan came in, and I understand his first year. McCurr won a championship his first year. This team we all could argue is just as talented. Obviously, they
Well,
are because they had the
Ken,
they
let
had
me
the
let me
champions.
let me pause you right there. Let me pause you right there because the reason why Kerr was able to come in and win first year with Golden State was because of the job Mark Jackson did
Shout
before
out to
him.
Mark Jackson.
Shout out to Mark Jackson because Steph Curry is not the point guard he is today without Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson allowed Steph to grow as a point guard. He also instilled what it takes to win defensively in the NBA. So when Kerr came, all he had to do was like make a couple tweaks. Oh, Andre, you're not a starter anymore. Harrison, you are. We're gonna do this system where if you don't pass at least 3 or 4 times, like that's the system. The first thing Steve Kerr told to the Golden State Warriors when he got the job was, when we pass the ball 3 or more times, you guys shoot over 60%. When you pass it 3 or less, it drops down to 40. That's a big difference. That's something that Scott Brooks, all he did was just give him a defensive identity. He did not help Russell Westbrook grow as a point guard IQ-wise. You didn't see it. You're starting to just see in the last 1.5, 2 years, really. You know what I'm saying? He's been growing exponentially every year, but as a PG, true PG, IQ, awareness, all of those things, and he still has a lot of room. The starting base that Steve Kerr had was more polished than what Billy Donovan inherited.
Are you telling me that Russell Westbrook displayed that in that series?
Displayed what?
Displayed
IQ?
Yeah. Are you telling me that Billy
At
Donovan,
times? At times, yes.
at the wrong times he did not?
Oh,
Billy
exactly.
Donovan,
Exactly. But that's part Scott Brooks. That's more Scott Brooks than Billy D.
he's the coach now, Ralph. He was
Nah,
brought
man.
in to get
That
out the poison that Scott Brooks left in OKC.
and you don't do that in one season. You don't do that in one
Why?
season. What? So name me another coach that's done that.
Steve Kerr.
He didn't rid the poison of Mark Jackson. Did you not hear anything I just said?
David Blatt took the Cavs to the finals.
And Tyronn Lue has rid the poison of what David Blatt had. Yes or no? They're playing better than they were under David
Oh,
Blatt.
not Blatt.
Look, my point is this. If Billy Donovan loses this, and if Billy Donovan did not have a 3-1 lead, fine. When you have a 3-1 lead over the reigning champs, you have to close that deal. There's no excuses.
Got to close them
There's
out.
no excuses. You have to close that. What you've done up to that point to get you 3 wins, for whatever reason, it fell apart. Your team fell apart. Your team went back to the thing that all of us. Yo, dog. Billy Donovan himself said it in the post games. He said it last night. He said whatever. He said we have to get away from the way that we play that causes us to lose game. I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember exactly, but in multiple times,
Well, obviously.
he pointed that out in the post game conferences. He's basically calling his team out. You have been with this team for a year, and you still haven't been able to rid that of them.
Still, Ken, what is your expectation level, bro? Because look, I understand.
Billy
Wait,
Donovan
hold
to
on.
come in and look. I expected Billy. Look, really, you know what? My expectation for Billy Donovan, I didn't expect much, to be honest, because when I look.
Well, okay. Let me rephrase the question. Let me rephrase the question because you're pointing everything at one person. What is your expectation level of any professional coach coming in first year? Is to get to the championship? That's your expectation level, regardless of the roster. Come on, Ken.
No.
Wait. I'm not done, Pippen.
Not championship is not championship.
Ken, you just said, and I agree. Billy Donovan was brought in to rid some of the bad habits that OKC.
Championship, Ralph.
Not year one.
He was brought in to win.
Not year one. Look, let me break this down to you, man. Let me break this down. You're 100% right with your assessment of saying that Billy Donovan was hired to rid the Oklahoma City Thunder from some of the bad habits that they have accumulated over the years. This is why I think they've accumulated some of those bad habits. Scott Brooks was the head coach of a young Kevin Durant and a rookie Russell Westbrook, or rookie Serge Ibaka, or rookie James Harden. Every single guy that has made the Oklahoma City Thunder who they are, Scott Brooks was the coach as a rookie. There's a level of friendship, a level of not holding people accountable exactly the same way that you should once you have that type of relationship. And some of those things fall through the cracks. Some of those things those bad habits fall through the cracks. Scott Brooks might not get hard on you. He might not change because obviously you're having a certain level of success.
Right.
Obviously that voice in the locker room is the same. You know what to expect. You're not necessarily being challenged anymore. Billy Donovan, coming from the college ranks, his first year into the NBA, I think he did a hell of a job. It is difficult to change everything that Scott Brooks instilled into that roster in 1 year, especially when you have polarizing figures like Russell Westbrook and KD. And when you're talking about a Russell Westbrook that is a top 5 greatest athlete to ever play in the NBA, when you're talking about the most explosive point guard to ever play, and somebody that's still learning to play point guard, it's impossible to get over the hump in the first year. Billy Donovan has to learn his team, what buttons to push, what's going to work. This right now, Ken, that expectation level that you're putting on him is completely unfair. That expectation level that you have right now applied to him in year 2. The same way my expectation level and what I expected out of David Blatt in year 2, which he did not provide because there still was turmoil and conflict, and Ty Lue was able to get rid of that because he was already there. He already understood what buttons to push with who and when. And he already had an idea of how I need to use Kevin Love better, how I need to massage this to make it work better. Billy Donovan, that's what he had this whole year for. So to put that type of expectation level on him, Ken, I don't know what the hell you thinking, bro. Because I don't care who you would have brought, including Phil Jackson, you would have not have got him over the hump year 1.
They look like the same team we saw on the Scott Brooks. That's what I'm thinking.
They was not the same team. Whoa, how can you say they was the same team?
You know what I think it is. I think and Ken and I probably more so than you and B have been very more. I don't want to say very critical. We've been more critical of Billy Donovan as far as OKC is concerned. I'm somewhere in the middle. I know that KD's the superstar, right? So he's going to absolve a lot of blame. I don't think he's the only one that you should blame. Like, I listened to a lot of sports talk radio, and I didn't hear a lot of people blaming Westbrook. I mean, Westbrook's shot selection, some of the three. I mean, Westbrook this season shot barely 30%. I think they pointed out last night 30% from 3-point range.
He shot in the 20s.
Jacked up some bad threes last.
He was in the 20s.
Oh, that's even worse. So I mean, so he's under guys like John Wall, who constantly gets knocked for not having a legit jumper or whatever. But I think Donovan, has to shoulder some blame because when you're up 3-1, you cannot lose a 3-1 lead to the defending champs. You just can't. Somebody has to step up and put their foot on the throat. Now, as far as KD, honestly, I think, much like Dakota, I think he's going to sign a 1-year deal because he really can't make a long-term commitment to OKC without normal.
He went away. Okay, so
Somebody just called me in the middle.
Oh.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, there was something that you said. Here's the thing. Like I said, I would blame more than just KD. But if I had to pick one, or who's gonna get the primary blame, is gonna be KD, and it's for this reason. When you're the best player on your squad, you got to be able to check the guys on your squad, regardless of who they are. Jordan checked Pippen. Right? And I'm not going to say everybody else he checked because if you checking Pippen, you checking everybody. You see what I'm saying? How many times you see KD check Russ? That's why
the majority. Is that in his nature? Is that in his nature to check him?
You know what? There's something that Kobe said. If you're a leader and you're uncomfortable with getting in somebody's face, you're going to lose to the leader that's not uncomfortable doing that. And he's 1,000% right. And to me, I've seen Steph Curry get in a couple people's faces, not all the time, because that's agreed not in his nature, but Draymond does. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Russ does. But how many times do you see KD check? When you're the star, you gotta check. Was it really in LeBron's nature, based off of how he plays?
Not really. No.
But he understood to win a championship, you gotta do that periodically. Even if it's not in your name, you have to establish that. And that's what KD doesn't do. You know what I'm saying? And again, there's stretches in games, critical moments. He'll go 0 for 6, 0 for 7. He'll miss 2 free throws. And all I'm saying is there's other superstars get butchered for that. And KD goes unscathed. So for me, I'm not trying to play the justice system or nothing, but I think he is the primary reason why they lost. And then secondary Russ.
That's a valid, and be honest, people, I've heard that a lot. And I think the people who want to quote unquote give KD a pass won't give him a pass because of, if you will, the lack of leadership. And I think Barkley said something last night that intrigued me. Like he said, when you're in a game 7, somebody's got to come into the locker room and say something to motivate the guys or get them, whatever you need. And he said he looked around the locker room and he doesn't know who's going to be that guy. And that's telling, if you don't, and I know, the NBA is not like the NBA that we watched growing up where you had, the 10, 12, 13-year veteran in your locker room. Those guys, a lot of times on a lot of teams, don't exist. But, there's got to be some accountability there. And, at least from the outside looking in, it doesn't I totally understand where FEEFO is coming from. I have not seen that from that doesn't mean, and we did see him cuss out Dion Waiters. But, outside of that, how much leadership – and that's not to say that he's not a leader. It's not as outward as you would think that it would be for someone of his talent. And so we'll see. Again, we've got about – I think it's like another month before free agency starts. So we shall see. Of course, this is going to be a hot-button topic. We talked about it maybe about a couple months ago. Durant made some comments that he actually wants to be wooed. He wants to be recruited – during this free agency period. So, OKC, they're going to be in a battle for other teams. And as we mentioned a few months ago, with a couple of moves, he could possibly sign with Golden State, as scary as that sounds.
Well,
go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I didn't really answer the KD question because I was too busy.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Fighting with FEEFO.
And then we'll move on to the finals.
But, yeah, it's really going to be quick. I think he should leave. I think he should go get his ring. Kevin Durant is at that point now where he's judged by titles. He's been there before. He's had opportunities. He's been to the Western Conference Finals 3 times, I think. Mm-hmm. And, he's lost 3 times? So at this point, I think it comes down to 2 things. One, I don't know if he wants to go to the East because LeBron's over there. But that's a whole other conversation. But I think it really comes down to 2 things for Kevin Durant. I'm totally with you on the 1+1. I think that makes the most sense because that allows him to evaluate what I'm about to say. Billy Donovan and Russell Westbrook. Those are the 2 people that he has to look at because I think this team has enough pieces to compete. I think there are some other things that they need to probably add it, to the bench in the offseason. But I think overall they have what they need. Steven Adams is a beast. He was dunking all over people. So you have.
You know what? And not to cut you off, Ken, but that's another. And I meant to bring this up, and I'm glad you mentioned it. Where was Steven Adams the last 7-8 minutes of the game? Why did Donovan take him out and didn't put him back in?
I don't know. I don't know at all. But Donovan, I don't know, man. I'm too hard on Billy.
I'm sorry. I just thought about that when you mentioned his name.
Yeah,
small ball. But go ahead, somebody.
I forgot all about Steven Adams in Game 6 and Game 7. He was pretty big when OKC was on the roll. in the early part of the series, he was defending like a maniac, getting offensive boards left and right, and I forgot all about him until Ken, you brought him up. Why didn't Donovan play, Steven Adams more? Like, he was, like, the best defender on the team in the earlier part of the series.
What happened, especially in that game 7, you saw it happen a lot in game 6. Obviously Steven Adams, great guy. I think he had a breakout series. I think he had a breakout year. I think he's one of the better
I think so too.
big men in the NBA, centers in the NBA. And Kyle, if you put him in your top 5 this year, I'm throwing you a bone here. I ain't gonna get on you because he's up there.
Nah, but, man, Hibbert's top 5, baby.
But what happened was Golden State really forced OKC's hand, right? Because what did we say with OKC? You're gonna revert back to who you are, right? And in the first couple games, OKC dominated Golden State's small lineup. Guess what happened in those games that they won those 3 in a row? Golden State's small lineup started to dominate OKC. So as a coach, obviously you're going to go, the first option is always going to go to what worked the best, right? Which was your big lineup. Okay, that's not working. What's plan B? Okay, that's not working. What's plan C? And what happened was Golden State imposed their will. And that's what I always say about any championship team. First and foremost, you have to play a multitude of styles. Second, and I think this is probably even more important than the first, but obviously you have to have the personnel, is playing your brand of basketball. When you play your brand of basketball, you are making the other team match you. And when you do that, you have the advantage. And that's what they did. That's what Golden State was able to do eventually.
Yeah, and what's funny about that is that's exactly how Blatt lost the finals last year, because he decided to match Kerr's small ball, and it didn't work when he was winning with the big guys. And I think what you're saying, hey man,
but Ken, it's a little bit different in the series because Billy Donovan stuck with his big lineup for way longer than Blatt did.
I know, but eventually he gave in to the small ball.
But Ken, when you're in the game, right? When you're in the game, you start off the game, you're in the first quarter, it's kind of working, whatever. But money time is second half. And Golden State in the last 3 games, that third quarter, it was whoever had the best burst coming out of halftime. And the last 3 games, that second half, Golden State came out with a different bounce to their step. I don't know what the hell Kerr was saying in that locker room, but they came out with a body language that was completely different. And as the coach of OKC, you're going to come in, you're going to maintain your what was working, and then all of a sudden they go 12-0 or 12-6 or 12-2, I mean, and they make a run, you call a timeout, you stay big, they go on another one, what you going to do? You're going to stay big? Well, now they have a 10, 12-point lead? No, you have to go to plan B. And when plan B is not working, then you go to plan C. And then all of a sudden, that's the game. That's the end of the second half. You got to go to the next game.
But I'm talking about in the series as a whole. OKC.
But you know what? That's where we get in trouble, Ken. Where you're trying to make it into a microcosm. You gotta break it down by game, by quarter, by runs, because that's how the game is played. It's not an overview, because if that's the overview, we're going to say big all the time. No.
I think you have to take some sort of macro approach to it, because in game 1, what were they talking about? The big lineup, the length of OKC, By the time they went up 3-1, they were talking about, Billy Donovan's small lineup was beating the death lineup. The narrative changed, and Billy Donovan got caught up in that. And what did you just say?
Hell no.
You just said this.
Okay.
You said that Golden State eventually forced their will, and Billy Donovan got caught up in his version of the small ball lineup, and then revert back to the big lineup because it wasn't working for him at the time. He wasn't persistent enough to stick with it.
Persistent? He would have got his ass blown out.
Billy Donovan at the end of the day did not do what you said coaches do. Impose championship teams do. Impose your will and your style of basketball, your brand of basketball on a team.
But
He's
let
gonna
me
have to match Curry.
okay. No, but here's the thing, right? Like in basketball, there's two sides, right? There's OKC and there's Golden State. So what you're telling me is that Steve Kerr never went big to match up OKC when they were going on their runs? Is that what you're telling me? Are you telling me that Golden State always came out here with a small lineup and they just played it until they eventually won? No. Basketball is checkers and chess. Checkers and chess. When something is working for the other squad and you're trying to impose your will like Golden State did with a small lineup and they could not, what do? You go big for a period of time. I'm not saying for the whole game. I'm not saying for a whole half. I'm not saying for 7 games. What I'm saying is for that 2 or 3 minute stretch that you are getting your ass handed to you, you have to do something. Because the game, you can lose a game in 3-minute stretch, Ken. You could lose a game to OKC in a 3 to 6 minute stretch, Ken. That happens, and you have to make adjustments. And that's what I give Billy Donovan over Scott Brooks, is that Billy Donovan, throughout the course of these playoffs, made better in-game adjustments than Scott Brooks did his entire NBA head coaching career in this one playoff.
Oh, get out of here. And he's still at home.
First year, Ken. First year.
All right, so here we go. Let's this is funny. Let's take it on. Man, before we move on, man, shout out to everybody in our YouTube chat room. Shout out to everybody in our YouTube chat room. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Dead End Sports. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. If you're watching us live, we got our boy Dakota Schmidt filling in tonight for Beezy 430, who is tonight DJing for Riff Raff. He will be back on next week. So here we go.
Man, that argument was better than Foreman Ali.
NBA Finals, champs, Golden State going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers back again. LeBron, will be his 6th consecutive trip to the NBA Finals. Let me just frame it like this, and we'll go around the room first. FEEFO, I'll start with you. For the Cavs to win, they will have to do what?
Make adjustments. And I think that you already seen. Look, man, Ty Lue is a very smart person. He's a very, 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 very smart person. I picked up a couple of things that he was doing in the Toronto series that I think he kind of a little bit showed his hand in terms of what he would like to do against Golden State. One of those things, you saw 2 different lineups. One of them more than the other. You saw his defensive lineup more, which was it consisted of Delly, Iman Shumpert, J.R. Smith, LeBron, and Tristan Thompson. That is the type of lineup that you match up against with Golden State's death lineup. I love LeBron at the 4. I always say he needs about 10 to 15 minutes a game at that spot because I think he's unguardable, like a KD, like those super mobile guys that can do a little bit of everything. You put those guys at the 4, it's the reason why Draymond Green has so much matchup problems. And I think that LeBron is the answer to Draymond. So I definitely love that lineup. But you also, and he only showed a little bit. A little bit, I want to say it was in game 4 in Toronto. I want to say it was game 4 in Toronto. What you saw was a 3-point lineup. And that consisted of Kyrie, JR, LeBron, K-Love, and Channing Frye. That lineup there is their firepower lineup. So between those 2 things right there, man, those 2 lineups right there, I think Ty Lue has a lot more to play with in terms of adjustments than David Blatt did last year. Because let me remind everybody that's watching, let me remind Ken and everybody here on the panel with me, you know what LeBron averaged last year in the finals? 35.8. You know how many rebounds LeBron got in the finals? 13.3. You know how many assists LeBron had in the finals? 8.8 assists. And you see I'm right with my points. 0.8. because I know what the hell I'm talking about. That is way too much of a load. What they have this year is way more balance on both sides of the court. They can play small, they can play big, they're versatile. What did I just say when we were just on the last topic? Two things that you have to do for every championship team: versatility and impose your will. Now, Cleveland now has the versatility. Can they impose their will? That's the question I have for them. But I think that they have the versatility to do that. So I think it's going to be an excellent another 7-game series. I think both of these teams wanted each other, so you know they're going to leave it all out there. You know that. So I'm just looking forward.
Okay. Dakota, for you, for Cleveland to win, they must do what?
I think first off, they're gonna have to figure out how to guard, the lethal backcourt of Curry and Klay Thompson. We all know that Kyrie probably won't be able to hang with Curry on the
You think?
as a defender throughout the series. Yes, and that's also the same percent. Maybe they try to put Delly on Curry. Maybe they try to put Iman Shumpert on there, and Tyronn Lue is going to have to be very creative with how he mixes up his, defensive matchups, defensive assignments, throughout the series, especially with having to guard Clay and Steph Curry. But on the offensive end, I think they're golden. Cleveland is definitely a much better shooting team than the OKC Thunder. You have Kyrie, you have Kevin Love, and the thing about Kyrie Irving is, he's gonna be a much tougher guard for Curry than what Russ was, because Kyrie has a consistent jumper, which is something you can't say about Russell Westbrook. He combines that jumper with great handles, quickness, and it's gonna be a really tough matchup, for Steph Curry. Yeah.
No doubt. It's great points right there, Dakota.
Kyle, one
FEEFO,
more
what
thing.
about you, man? No, I'm sorry. Did I go to Ken yet?
No, you got to go to Ken. That's why I was trying to.
Okay,
get there
Ken,
before you
my
pass.
bad. Ken, for the Cavs to win, what must happen?
Wait, Ken. Right before you go, hold on. Let me get this one more thing in there. Another thing. If the Cavs win, you heard it here first. I love being the first. Kyrie will be Finals MVP if the Cavs win.
Okay.
I agree.
I can see that happening, especially with him leading them in scoring. Ken, for the Cavs to win, what must happen?
I have absolutely no idea. I have thought about this matchup for quite some time since the playoffs started, watching how the Cavs have been playing in the playoffs, watching how the Warriors have been playing in the playoffs, and the way I think it's going to come down to defense. Um, and the Cavs just don't play consistent enough defense for me. But I think if they stand a good shot at winning, they're gonna have to get threes. And I think if you look at what Portland was able to do with their 3-point shooting, if you look at what OKC tried to do, but they just couldn't do it nowhere near as efficient as Portland was able to do, is three-point shots. It's been a weapon for them the whole playoffs. They've shot it at an amazing clip, close to 40%, I think is what they're at now. And if they are able to do that, and they have better perimeter shooters than OKC, if they're able to do that, I think they'll have a chance, because they'll be able to come close to matching Golden State's production from the 3-point line. Golden State, and I'm sure many of you have saw this already, were plus 84 from the 3-point line. That 3-point line saved their season. That 3-point line is pretty much their offense, and everything is built around that. And I think the Cavs have to do the same thing. And in doing so, that should open up lanes for Kyrie and LeBron to be able to get to the line. I think LeBron has to post up more in this series, similar to what he did last year. And I think Kyrie Irving is going to have to take his matchup personally, and he's going to have to be the Finals MVP, like FEEFO said, if they're going to win the series.
Okay.
And more
Okay.
importantly, I'm not saying he will be. I'm saying that he has to be if they're going to stand a shot at winning the playoffs. And I think, in all honesty, Kevin Love, who has only had 2 bad games the whole playoffs from what I've seen, Kevin Love has to not only match Draymond Green, but Kevin Love has to take that personal. And I know we get on Kevin Love and his mental toughness and his defense and his ability to play physical. If you want to win a title, if you've been waiting for this and you came back to Cleveland for this moment, you have to leave every single thing you have on the court. And you have to be that guy.
Ken, what does that mean for K Love in terms of taking it personal? Like specifically for K Love, what do you see that he has to do against Draymond?
I think he has to play his offense, man. I think he's going to have to. Draymond is going to be physical with him. Draymond is going to body him. He has to take him in the post. He has to score on him. He has to hit the threes. He has to vary up his offense. And I think that's going to fall on Lou to get him those elbow in shots. And I think if he uses his frame, he can be effective. He doesn't have to dominate, but he has to be 17-10. He has to be Bosh. If he's not there, it's going to be tough. But Kevin Love has to display the level of versatility he showed in Minnesota. He has to.
I think the stat that I'm looking, and I 100% agree with you, but I think the stat that K Love has to dominate against Draymond Green is rebounding. Yep, rebounding. Because Golden State is the most dangerous when Draymond gets the rebound and he pushes. Because now you got Clay and Steph all over the place and everybody looking and running. All of a sudden, Draymond might have a layup or you got a 3 coming down because Steph is trailing the play or Clay or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I think that the key to beating Golden State is rebounding because the 3-point shot is the only thing to overcome a rebounding deficit. Mm-hmm. That's the only stat that can make up for a lack of rebounds is more points per shot. So to me, K Love has to be double-digit rebounds almost every single game that they play. He has to. Him and Tristan's another one. They have to control the paint. To me, it's not even about scoring because these Cavs can score a la Golden State, and I think they're better paint scorers, half-court scorers. You know what I'm saying? In the paint, obviously, Golden State has a half-court offense, but they have to be able to dominate defensive and offensive rebounds because I think that was the key for OKC.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's interesting about their ability to score in the paint, and this may surprise you, it's shocked the hell out of me, is that I think close to 30-something% of their offense come from inside the paint.
Who? Golden State?
Cavs.
The Cavs?
Yep, believe it or not. They've
I
been
believe it.
From the 3-point line and jump shots. Not that they can't get those opportunities. That was a shocking stat when I saw it. I was surprised that scoring in the paint was their lead.
You know why?
Why is that?
Think about the 2 best players on the squad. Who are they? Obviously LeBron. Who's the other one?
Right.
Kyrie.
What do they do? They're attacking type players, just like LeBron and D-Wade. Obviously, Kyrie attacks differently. Like he don't have over the rim, but they are attacking type players. And when they're at their best, they're attacking the rim. When they settle for jump shots is when it's kind of like, y'all can do better than that because you can get wherever you want to get to. And with LeBron, I think you started to see it toward the end of the Toronto series as well, him getting post-ups. K Love getting those elbow jump shots. I don't think any of that changes the only thing that's going to change is the opponent. It's going to be the same thing. In terms of rotation, in terms of lineups, in terms of how they want to attack. That's not going to change because that's imposing your will. That's doing what makes you great. And I think Ty Lue is going to hold them accountable. That's been the biggest thing that Ty Lue has said since he's taken over. I gotta hold LeBron accountable. I gotta hold the whole team accountable. And that's what you've seen. He's been a man of his word. He has instilled Kevin Love better into the offense. They look more cohesive. They look like what they want to do. The only question I have still for the Cavs is, what is your identity? Are you a defensive juggernaut? Are you a three-point shooting team? Are you a half-court? Like, what are you still? I don't know. I just know they're really damn good.
Yeah,
That's what I know.
Either. And the last thing on Tyronn Lue, and you mentioned it earlier, you just mentioned it a few minutes ago, is that his impact on this team and challenging LeBron and saying, LeBron, we need you in Game 6. And LeBron responding in Game 6. You know, him talking to Kevin Love and saying, yeah, I didn't play you in Games 3 and 4 in the fourth quarter. Here's why. And then going to him the next day and talking to him again. But not more importantly, challenging Kevin Love to become a force again, instilling confidence in him and saying that we need you to be aggressive. And Kevin Love responding to that. And they're all responding to the challenges that Lue has placed upon them. And it's making a hell of a difference. Lue has imposed his will on this team, and he has put his foot down as the head coach, unlike Donovan.
And one more thing. I know we could go on forever. The biggest impact to me that I've seen is J.R. Smith.
Yeah.
How many times have you said, that was a knucklehead play? I can't remember in these playoffs. You know what I'm saying? There was maybe one or two games where his defense wasn't on point how it has been, but for the most part, he's taking good shots. He's taking shots within the offense. He's not forcing many. Obviously, sometimes he'll get the ball with 2-3 seconds on the shot clock. He got to force them up. I'm not counting those. But in the flow, he's playing a lot in the flow. And I want to say that Toronto closeout game, I think he took like 3 shots. So, and he's not complaining. He understands his role. He's finally a starter. Look at the difference between J.R. Smith with Carmelo and J.R. Smith with LeBron. It's staggering. It's crazy. It's crazy. But J.R. Smith, I think, Tyronn Lue has touched J.R. Smith or impacted J.R. Smith in the biggest way out of anybody on that squad.
You know what it is? I think it's going to be interesting. I think one of the things that for Cleveland to win, I agree with Ken. Kevin Love has to play well. And I don't mean just, be there. Like he really has to play well for them to be, because if you figure that LeBron's points and Steph's points and Klay's points and Kyrie's points are going to cancel each other out, you know that when Golden State is rolling and they're successful, there's always another guy. There's always Mo Space, or there's a Draymond, or there's Randy. I was about to call him Randy. Sean Livingston. So I think for Cleveland to be successful, they're going to have to. It's going to have to be Kevin Love. And I think another thing for Cleveland to win, they can't fall in love with the three, because I don't think that the threes that they got were a lot of threes that they got in the series that they've gotten in the playoffs were. Some of them were bad, some of them were forced, but they made them. And they had a lot of wide open, particularly in the Hawks and the Hawks series. They had a lot of wide open threes. They won't get a lot of wide open threes. Most of the threes that they're going to take from here on out are going to be contested, because they have somebody that can at least stay in front of LeBron. They have a couple of people that are going to throw at LeBron. I think, the matchup problem, I think Cleveland has to stick to doing what they do best. And FEEFO touched on a good point, and I think they have to get at it defensively. If they don't get at Golden State defensively, you're not going to lose. You're not going to win. It's just that simple. And I think the other thing is Cleveland really, even though Cleveland was down, even though they lost a couple of games, they were never down in the previous series. What happens if you go down 2-1 or you go down 3-1? Are you going to, hang your head, or are you going to start? Cleveland has to stick together, and it's going to have to be all hands on deck for them to beat Golden State, because I don't think that you can beat them any other way. It's got to take a concerted effort. It's not going to be LeBron going for 50. That's just not going to happen. I don't even know if that's in his nature to do that at this point. I think it's going to have to be a collective effort. Now let's flip it over to Riverside. Dakota, I'll start with you. For Golden State to win, what has to happen?
More what we saw in Game 6 and
Dakota.
Game 7, their defense.
Okay, go ahead. There you go.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I think we need to see more of what they did in Game 6 and Game 7, especially in the second half with their defense locking down, ball movement going on, and just Clay and Steph leading the way. But like Kyle said, Clay and Steph are going to be reliable. But you also have other role players that can, go around and help produce. And I think the role players, will it be Draymond, will it be Harrison Barnes, will it be Barbosa, Iguodala, Livingston, whomever, in each game, one of them, has to step up, whether it be Iguodala shooting and defense, Barnes doing whatever Barnes does, or Barbosa just being the blur that we all know and love. So yeah, more of the same of what we saw in Game 6 and Game 7.
No doubt. FEEFO, what about you? For Golden State to win, what has to happen?
Clay can't be taken out of the series. I think that he has some of the most direct matchups in terms of how difficult it's going to be. Cleveland has Deli they could throw at him. Cleveland has JR. Cleveland has Amon. I think LeBron, depending on how hot he gets, he might get a crack at him. So I think that Clay has to step up. I think he has to take that emotion, everything that he had in that last series against OKC. If he does not bring that against the Cleveland Cavs, I think they lose. Because last year they were able to withstand Clay having a bad series. Because where the hell was Clay in the finals last year? Because I'm pretty sure Ken's gonna, he's shaking his head now. Like Clay has to show up, and I'm not saying that he has to do exactly what he did because we're talking about historical what he did. I don't think he needs to be historical. Mm-hmm. He has to be able to produce. He has to be able to continue to put pressure on Cleveland's defense and not let all of those bodies win the matchup against him. And in all honesty, they just got to continue to do what they do. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. You guys are the reigning champs. You're the reigning champs. You came back from 3-1. You should be at an all-time high. Do what got you here. And that's one thing about Golden State. We know they're going to be consistent. They know where their bread is buttered, and they're gonna get it to Steph. Draymond's gonna do what he does. They just need to continuously do what got them to this point. The only person that I feel that just needs to maintain that level, you know what I'm saying, and not get bogged down by all of the fresh bodies and different looks and everything that they're going to throw at him, is Klay Thompson. If Klay Thompson can be consistent, it's going to be a problem.
And
you better believe
I definitely agree.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I definitely believe you, FEEFO. I think one player that definitely has to step up from after what we saw in the last series is Draymond Green, especially on the offensive end. Even when Clay and Steph were knocking out shots, Draymond Green was just struggling throughout that entire series, and even though we can depend on Clay and Draymond Green, it's going to have to be that third musketeer, if you will, and work as a facilitator, shoot perimeter jumpers, the same way that he did during the regular season.
The only reason why I didn't mention Draymond is because I think he's licking his chops at this matchup. I think Draymond can be the Draymond we all know and love in this matchup. I think it was way more difficult for him against OKC because those bigs are super big and mobile. The Cavs bigs are big and not as mobile. So I think we're going to see the real Draymond against the Cavs. That's why I didn't even mention him. I think he's going to come out. He's going to do what we know him to do this whole season. For me, again, I'm not disagreeing with you, Dakota. It's just that when I'm looking at the roster, right, I'm just looking at what Cleveland has versus what Golden State has. Cleveland has a lot of wing players. You know what I'm saying? JR, like I said earlier, he's playing great defense. Iman is known for defense. LeBron's arguably the best two-way player in the NBA still. You know what I'm saying? So Delly is a defensive guy. They got a lot of wing guys that they could throw at a lot of different people. And I think Steph is Steph. Steph is way too special. He's gonna shoot that thing from 2 dribbles inside the damn half court and make it. The guy to me that I see that's like, okay, you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to make sure you're involved. You're gonna have to make sure your matchup doesn't get, or your matchups don't get the best of you. I think that falls on Clay.
Most definitely.
Mic check.
Yeah, I can hear you, Kyle.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I disappeared for a second. Yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat room who told me that I disappeared. I think for Golden State, man, for them to win, I think they have to keep doing what they've been doing. I think they have to, one, protect home court. Cleveland came in there last year, without Kevin Love, and that was, of course, game one where they won, where Kyrie got hurt. But they came in and stole one, so. They're more than capable. It's not like, Cleveland's not chopped liver. They're more than capable of, coming in and stealing the game. And I think, that's one of the things that, for lack of a better term, I think, Golden State got hit in the mouth with OKC in game one because I don't know if it was rust. I to be honest, I don't necessarily think going into Thursday night's game that Golden State would be the rusty team. I think the Cavs might be a little bit rusty because they haven't played in over, it's been what, a week and a half or so?
5
Maybe
days.
A little bit more than a week. Okay, so, I think the finals format, the games are spread out a little bit more. But I think if Golden State do what they're capable of doing, keeping Curry and Clay moving on those screens and if they can get what they're normally getting from Draymond Green, I think it's just. And it's no knock on Cleveland. I just think it's hard. And I tweeted this out. You have a team that they lost 9 times in a season. And I know the playoffs are different. But it's hard to beat a team 4 times in 2 weeks. And it took them 3 months to lose 4 games. It's hard. So I'll be interested to see what happens if Cleveland gets down a game or 2. I'll be interested to see what happens if Golden State gets down a game or 2. So now that leads us to our predictions.
Well, hold on.
I'll start first. My prediction: Golden State wins. I think it's bad matchups across the board. I think Golden State will win in 6, maybe 7. Maybe 7 if Kevin Love shows up. If Kevin Love doesn't show up, it's going 6. But I picked Golden State at the beginning of the playoffs. No need for me to change my pick at this point. I'm going with Golden State. Dakota, what about you?
I agree with you, Kyle. I was gonna say Ken for a second, but Kyle, I have Golden State in 6. I agree with everything that you say for Cleveland. Especially defensively going against those guys, it's a bad matchup because we don't know who's going to guard Curry, who's going to guard Clay. We know LeBron's going to be on Draymond Green, but aside from that, we don't really have an idea of what Tyronn Lue is going to do on the defensive end.
No doubt. What about you, FEEFO? Who wins and in how many games?
All right, so we texted last night. I said my heart says Cleveland, my head says Golden State. But the more I think about what Ty Lue showed me, just in those glimpses, because coaches do that all the time. We'll put lineups and different things out there just to see how it'll work, because that's the chess of basketball. I'm gonna go Cleveland, man. I'm gonna go Cleveland at 7.
Okay, okay, okay. And what about you, man?
Well, I didn't get a chance to answer the question about what the Warriors need to do to
I'm sorry,
win.
my bad, man. My bad.
Hey,
We're
it's
all
all
over the
good.
place.
You thought you were
Go ahead,
missing
go
the
ahead and
show,
answer
man.
that
I
first.
understand. It's going to be brief. I think in order for the Warriors to win, Draymond Green has to kick LeBron James and Kyrie Irving in the nuts. I think if you do that, I think they got an excellent shot at winning, because we know he won't be suspended for doing it. But for me, I'm going with we did text last night. A couple of people asked me on Twitter. Look, man, there's no way that the Cavs should win this series. There's no way the Warriors should lose this series. They have been dominant all year. This is not the same. A lot of people say, "Oh, now the Cavs are healthy." That applies to last year's teams when they played. If they were healthy when they played last year, because they're completely different teams now. The Warriors are champions, 73 wins. Uh, Broke a record, came back from 3-1. Like, they know how to win. They're confident. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder. They have that experience, and they embody all of that. So to sit here and apply that to this team is different. We're talking about a team now that fired their coach halfway through the season, that has a coach in Lou that is instituting his style onto this team. Um, all of that being said, the Warriors clearly should be the heavy favorites to win this finals. But you guys know good and damn well I'm not picking the Warriors to win this damn finals.
Of course
And
not.
I'm going with the Cavaliers in 6. I told you guys last night, and I was searching for reasons why to make me feel good about that. But I really want to see what Lou does, and I'm putting some faith in Tyronn Lue, and some of the things that he's been able to do from a mental standpoint with that team. The way he's able to motivate them and they respond. He's really taking command of that team, and I think that means a lot. They're peaking right now, and more importantly, I give a lot of credit to players and teams that want to play the best team in the league. They're not ducking. They're not running. They have said, and JR said it before they played, we want Golden State. It may not go the way they want it to go, but they want them boys. To me, I think that means a lot, because it's going to motivate you to play at a higher level. And conversely, on the other side, Golden State wants Cleveland. We're in for hopefully 7 games, even though I'm calling it a 6, because I don't think they could win it in Oracle. Much like OKC needs to win in 6. But you know what, man?
I'm
I'm gonna
surprised
go
you
all
guys are
out,
going
man.
with Cleveland.
Hey, man, I'm shooting my shot, baby. I shoot my shot on this show. I'm not taking the easy, smart way out. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means by me
Yeah,
not taking the
I'm
smart way. Does that mean I'm stupid or something? But I'm shooting my. Hey, man, life is about risk, Kyle. It's all about risk. You don't get anywhere if you don't take risks. You
and I
don't take
think
chances. I'm shooting my
I
shot,
think
baby.
B said Golden State in 6, right?
I think he had him in
If I'm
7.
not mistaken, and I got to go back to our text message, but I think B said Golden State in 6. Of course, B will be back next week. Um, but yeah, man, I'm hopeful for a great series. I hope did not just see the NBA Finals just now in the Western Conference Finals. Um, but I think Cleveland has a lot to prove. Again, Cleveland to me hasn't been challenged, and my biggest question with Cleveland is what's going to happen when you get punched several times because he saw Ace get several times. And if you get the champs down, the only thing I can tell Cleveland is you got to finish them. I just don't know that they're going to get the champs down. LeBron is going to be phenomenal. I think Kyrie's going to be dope. I just don't know that Cleveland has enough because, what you saw from guys like Channing Frye, they're going to need that. And Golden State had Roberson self-check, what we call him. God, he was taking shots last night, and at open shots. He was just missing. And that's what Golden State does. And what happens is when you're on the road and you're playing an Oracle, I think it's really, really hard to focus. And it's hard those shots become even that much more tighter. But I'm looking forward to a great series, man. I mean, this is what, if you asked Adam Silver, he probably would have told you this is what they wanted. I touched on something a little earlier. Draymond Green, hey, bro, you're done with you've got enough mulligans. The next thing is going to be you should get a game. I didn't have a problem with what happened last night. I thought it was a basketball play. To be honest, personally, I'm tired of the reviews. I mean, every time something happens, they're going to review. I mean, we see more reviews than we do in an NFL game. But that's another story for another day. So we'll see, man. We'll see. It's going to be Thursday night, and I think Game 2 is Sunday. And then I think Game 3 isn't until next Wednesday. So we will have Game 1 and 2 in Oracle to talk about next week when we come back on the show. So it should be a great series. Before we get out of here, and we did this last week, and I said I was going to do it again. Because it's fun. And of course, I didn't come up with this idea. Shout out to the homie Eclectic, aka Mr. One Gotta Go. You can check out his account at the number one gotta go. Pick one that's gotta go. You ready, Ken?
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up a little bit. A lot, actually.
Okay.
You sound like a robot.
Can you hear me?
It's probably just on my end.
I went totally out just now. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
You sound a lot better now.
Yeah, I don't know.
You sound a lot more human.
We got some storms coming through here. I don't know what's it said Ryan said net zero. All right, so one gotta go. Ken, here we go. Klay Thompson, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, or Steph Curry. One gotta go.
Klay Thompson, Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, or Kevin Durant.
Yeah, one gotta go.
Yeah, I'm keeping Curry and Durant easy. That's a no-brainer.
No, but one gotta go. Just one.
So it comes down to Klay or Russell Westbrook. Man, get Klay light-skinned ass out of here, man.
Hey, you tripping?
Yeah.
You tripping?
Klay out of here, man. Klay out of here.
All right, Dakota, it's on you. One gotta go. Russell Westbrook.
Russ and his whatever his fashion sense is, he's gotta go.
Okay.
Gotta go, yeah.
All right, FEEFO.
Russ.
Hey man, I gotta say Russ gotta go, man. Russ has to go.
You tripping?
Hey, were you just discriminating against him because he light skin?
Man, Russell Westbrook was working Klay.
But look, one gotta go. I'm taking Steph over Russ. I'm taking KD over Russ. So it comes down to Klay and Russ. The only difference to me is IQ. I'll take Klay over Russ because I have my point guard on the squad.
All right, last one. One gotta go. It's two. I'm gonna give you a scenario. Ken, I'll start with you. It's 2000. It's the year is 2000. You're down by 3 points with 4 seconds left in the game. Who takes your final shot? Peja Stojakovic, Ray Allen, Dirk Nowitzki, or Reggie Miller?
Who?
Reggie Miller, Dirk, Peja, or Ray Allen. And this is the year is 2000.
Ray Allen. I'm gonna give it to Ray.
Okay.
You know what?
Dakota?
What year is it?
It's 2000. But really, I have to pick Ray Allen as a Bucks fan for this. I have to pick Jesus Charlesworth as a Bucks fan.
Was he that guy? Like, he was great back then, but was he clutch like that? And I can't remember. It's 16 years.
Now remember, we're talking 2000. So at this point, Dakota, he's in Boston.
He's in Milwaukee in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Was he in Milwaukee in 2000 or Boston?
Yeah,
Milwaukee.
He didn't go to. You didn't go to Boston until 2007.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, so okay, let me walk that back because I'm thinking about Heat Ray Allen and Boston Ray Allen. That's a different Ray Allen. That
Milwaukee Ray Allen.
So now I don't want Peja was great in late game situations. From what I can remember, I don't want him either. So it's Reggie Miller or who's the other guy?
Dirk.
Who?
Reggie Miller, Peja Stojakovic, Ray Allen, or Dirk Nowitzki.
Oh, Reggie. Dirk wasn't ready back then either. So it
Y'all
really,
tripping.
in all honesty, comes down to Peja and Ray.
Y'all tripping. How
How
are you not picking? How are you not picking Reggie Miller?
I picked Reggie Miller.
Oh, I'm picking Reggie Miller too.
Yeah, I picked Reggie Miller.
Okay.
I'm picking
I got
Reggie
confused
too.
by the year. The year threw me off, so I had to reevaluate the question.
Yeah, I'm taking Reggie.
I have an obvious bias here, so.
So yeah.
I mean, you can pick Ray Allen you want to. You're gonna lose.
Man, you tripping?
No, I'm talking about his bias.
All right, so real quick before we get out of here, better 3-point shooter, and this is the body of their work: Steph Curry, Reggie Miller, or Ray Allen.
Steph.
FEEFO.
I'm gonna say Reggie. And the reason why I'm gonna say Reggie, I feel like he had more clutch moments. From three, like he has memorable moments from three. Like when I think of Ray Allen, the only one I could think of is the one in Miami in the corner against San Antonio. Name me another big time 3-point shot by Ray Allen to, you know what I'm saying, do something major. Like I don't know. It was Miller time. I'm taking Reggie all the way.
What about you, Ken?
But go ahead, Dakota.
You know, after that initial question was out there, y'all heard me initially blurt out Steph Curry, but I think it's between Miller and Steph. I mean, I love Allen to death, but like FEEFO said, he didn't have that kind of clutchness. And even though Steph Curry 400 threes in a season, he's putting out record after record after record. It's tough, but with I love Reggie. I love what Reggie did during his time with Indiana, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Steph Curry based on just the sheer.
Wait, you said Steph?
Yeah.
Kyle? You said Steph Curry or Reggie Miller?
Yeah, I said better 3-point shooter: Reggie, Steph, or who's the third person?
Ray Allen.
Oh, you must have cut out.
Yeah, Ray Allen. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I didn't hear Steph. I heard Reggie or Ray Allen. Hands down, Steph.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dakota. Hands down, Steph, though.
Reggie has
Same
clutch
here.
moments, but Steph Curry has like the historical 400 threes and all of this that he's done over the last 3-4 seasons. I think that alone has put him over the top of what Reggie Miller did during his 15 plus years in Indiana.
And if I can elaborate a little bit on Steph Curry, because I didn't hear the question all the way. Hands down, Steph Curry. I ain't
Okay.
never seen nobody pull from 40. I like in your mouth. I ain't never seen nobody just shoot over 7-footers. I like look, man. I ain't never seen that. Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, very very similar. Every other 3-point shooter, Dale Ellis, Sean Elliott, Mark Price, Steve Nash. I can go on and on. They all look relatively the same. What's the one guy that looks different? It is Steph, hands down.
Yeah. And keep in mind, we saw Steph's dad play. And Steph's dad could shoot, don't get me wrong. But his dad wasn't like this. His dad was not like this. Um, so we're
Ken?
about to get out of here, man. Big shout out to the homie Dakota Smith for filling in for Beezy. Before we get out of here, Dakota, tell people where they can find you.
Can I get to answer? Can I get to answer?
Oh no,
Can I get to answer the question?
yeah, I think when you were posing the question, I wonder, and I'll be quick. Well, I'll go ahead and give my answer. I think it's Steph. But when you posed the question, I wondered what would Reggie be like in this day's NBA with the ability to shoot as many threes
The
as
same Reggie?
Steph
More
does.
volume?
So I don't know. It's hard to really say, but right now, based on what we've seen, it's got to be Steph.
Ken, just look, man. I don't think it's hard to kind of imagine Reggie in this NBA. He would have more threes, but it wouldn't. I don't think it would be
400, close to 400.
hell no, because he could only do it one way. He could do it off the ball.
Yeah.
Steph does it off the ball. He does it from half court. He does it in your mouth from 40. He step back from 30. Like it don't matter with this guy. You've never seen that. I've never seen that, bro. Like Reggie's nice. He would have hit more. Reggie would have broke like his own 3-point
Right.
record, and I think he could have been in the 300, but not no 400. You get the 400 because you shoot from everywhere every time. And Steph is a point guard, so the ball's primarily in his hand. Where Reggie, he was a 2-man with no ball skills. So nah, man, Steph Curry.
No doubt. No doubt. So before we get out of here, Dakota, tell everybody where they can find you at.
You can find me at Dakota_Schmidt on Twitter or at Ridic, RIDIC Upside. That's the site that I'm interim editor for, which is mainly a D-League site. We do NBA draft, international D-League. Basically, what I'm trying to do is make Ridiculous Upside the best non-NBA hoop site out there. But as you guys have seen, I do know my NBA basketball. So at Dakota_Schmidt and at Ridic, RIDIC Upside on Twitter.
No doubt. No doubt. Bruh, thanks for coming through. Shout out to the homie Beezy who could not make it tonight. He's DJing for Riff Raff and Drake. He'll be back next week. And thank you for tuning in. We definitely appreciate it. Like I said, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe to us. Check us out on all the socials. So for Beezy and his absent, our boy Dakota Schmidt, Ken and FEEFO, I'm your host, 12 Kyle. We'll holler at you next week. Peace.
Peace.